multiple jobs, they invest in small businesses, they work long hours to provide for their families. And that we desperately need, or often areas where some New Zealanders are unwilling to. They care for, they help run our dairy farms. Others come as international students carrying the hopes of their system will provide them with a high quality qualification that will help somewhere else. And people who come to New Zealand from overseas bring a cultural richness and a diversity, a willingness. So for those of you who have felt recently like this is a place that you've made your home, welcoming or a little bit more ugly, I want you to know, well, you are welcome here. As the Minister, it is difficult to watch immigration being used to cause division and discontent when I have spent the last hard to address the significant immigration left to us by the previous government. My job is one that tries to find that balance between ensuring that opportunities are prioritised for people who are already here in New Zealand, while facilitating the skills and knowledge that we need and businesses need to grow and to thrive, along with opportunities for visitors, for family reunification, for humanitarian contributions, for students, while also protecting our public service and the integrity. It is, to be frank, an incredibly complex. Many of you will remember the challenges that confronted us when I became the Minister. 4,000. Most work visas, remember, after the borders opened, had surged, and the integrity of our immigration system had been undermined by the documents. The previous Labour government had implemented a fit for purpose, including restricted pathways that meant that many skilled and experienced had no pathway to remain in New Zealand, and introducing this arbitrary and unfair parent-resident ballot. The task that confronted us is significant, and it's taken most of the last 2.5 years to address the mess that was left. My focus as the Minister of Immigration has to be prioritise these areas of the integrity of our immigration system, and also the public trust in our immigration system, or what was handbrake on our aspirations for growth. At the same time, we were clear that people who were already in New Zealand needed to be prioritised for job opportunities here, in good faith, and employers that are having their immigration accreditation suspended or revoked the jobs that they have. We're also enforcing maximum continuous stay on work visas because the labour market is very different to where it was 3 years ago. The result of all of that are now becoming clear. Net migration from that record is around 25,000. At the same time, we have flipped the proportion of those visas that were being granted for lower skilled roles. When I became the Minister, 60% of work visas were for lower skilled roles. Almost 50,000 people have received their residence through the Green List. People like doctors, teachers, social workers, nurses, engineers and mechanics, the very people that we need New Zealand to have to help grow our economy and deliver those very important public services. And importantly, and this is one of the have 2 new pathways to residence. Skilled and experienced people who were totally cut out by the Labour government's changes, which severely restricted opportunities for residents. To the people who will soon be eligible for residence, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for bringing your skills and experience to there was no clear pathway for you to stay. Thank you for uprooting your families from a chance on a new country when you your children that they would have a long-term future here. Thank you for your contributions you've made to our schools, our sports clubs, our community organisations, our cultural groups, knowing that you may have to leave. Thank you for keeping the faith while we sorted through the mess that was left by the previous government. Thank you for the contributions that you will continue to make as residents and hopefully one day citizens of our beautiful country. Another area where Labour left us with a process that was clearly sounded great at the time, potentially in the halls of power in Wellington, but was totally unfit for the realities of people's lives, was the parent-resident category. Specifically, taking something as important as family reunification and turning it into a game of chance and luck, where people's parents were being able to live and stay in New Zealand was subject to the arbitrariness of a random ballot. A system that has meant some people's parents get drawn just a few weeks after having lodged their expression of interest, where others have waited for years with no certainty. And on top of that, having to pay a fee after fee for every 2 years when their expressions of interests expired to go back in the ballot. I want to acknowledge the fearless advocacy of Nancy Liu, of Rima Narkley, Carlos Chong and other MPs. I can assure you that they have worn a path to my office and never letting me forget for 1 second that this was something that we had to sort out for this term. That the stress and the anxiety that was being caused for migrant families desperate to have some fairness and some clarity and some certainty could not continue. I would also like to thank all of the people, and some of you are in this room, who came to public meetings or who contacted me personally to share your stories and experiences of life in limbo, not knowing whether or not your parents would be drawn the next month, the next year, or perhaps never. And I want to share with you a few of their pleas because their voices matter. Someone wrote to me saying, how can a lottery system be considered the fairest way to assess applications when a chance alone determines who is invited to apply and what families may remain together? A person's future, their family and their life they have spent years building should not depend on chance. It's really clear that family reunification ballot is unfair, it's arbitrary, it lacks transparency and creates unnecessary stress for New Zealand families and for their parents. So today I'm here to tell you that we have listened, and from next week the August draw, the ballot, last full ballot that will be conducted for the parent-resident category. Selection will be moving to a new hybrid system. In this process, 90% will be made from a chronological, with the final 10% from a ballot. This provides certainty and priority for families who have been waiting for years, while also providing a small opportunity for people who've had an expression of interest accepted recently to still have a chance of being selected. For people who have had expressions of interests expire and have had to submit a subsequent expression of interest, as long as the EOI was submitted within 90 days of the previous one expiring, your placement in the queue will be by the first date that your EOI was accepted. So if your parents submitted an EOI in 2022 or 2023 and have kept their EOI current, you can expect they will reach the front of the queue reasonably quickly and will be selected in either November or next year. Immigration New Zealand will be contacting all current EOI holders in October to let them know where they are in this new queue. It will provide families with some transparency, some certainty about how long they may have to wait before they reach the front of the queue. And this will enable a plan for their lives and people who may be waiting some years still, parents reach the front of the queue, consider whether or not they want to apply for other visas in the meantime. Finally, from the 5th of October, EOI will expire after 2 years, and people will not have to continue to pay. Instead, people will just be required to confirm or update their details with the EOI every for their place in the queue, but all it will do is ensure that our information is current for people when they do reach the front of the queue or were drawn by the ballot. All of the existing eligibility criteria will continue to apply, including sponsors' incomes, acceptable health requirements. This is because it balances family reunification with supporting New Zealanders' wider trust and confidence in the immigration system, especially at a time when many of our public services are under pressure. In closing, I am extremely proud to be the Minister of Immigration that has spent the last 3 years focused on fixing the basics of our immigration system and building a system we need for the future. We inherited a system that was broken, and while it will never be a completely perfect system, I'm proud of the changes that we've delivered, that we've bottomed out unsustainable net migration, we've addressed migrant exploitation, we've delivered new visas, we've increased the proportion of higher skilled people coming to New Zealand, we've provided pathways to residence, and now we will restore trust and confidence in the parent-resident pathway. And thank you again to those MPs in the room who have spent the last couple of years making sure that I never forgot this. Thank you so much for being here today, all of you, and thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, Minister Erica Stanford. I believe that we'll be moving into a media stand-up soon, but I'm also aware that some people may wish to take a photo with you or ask you some specific questions. So if we can get the media to maybe get ready, and we'll bring the Minister back.